Yeah.
And we talked about him a little last night. We didn't really get to fully get into it. I saw Easy tweeted out that he's retiring if they sign him as a Pistons fan. Where are you at with Tobias Harris? And then I'll kind of follow up after you. But what do you think about a potential Tobias Harris Detroit Pistons reunion?
Great. Hey, great conversation for me to come back from a vacation. Tobias Harris, boys. I love it. Good. A lot of things happened while I was gone. Tobias Harris. I'm out.
Yeah.
I'm out on Tobias. Honestly, I text you guys too, and we've gotten in arguments about like a guy like Tobias. Where I saw on Twitter people like, oh, you like the whole Easy thing about how people were going at him. I'm fine with moving. Like, don't even look at Tobias Harris. I've been very outspoken about the Detroit Pistons. I texted you guys this morning. Just go get me 2 big time players to pair with Cade Cunningham. Tobias isn't like a needle mover to me. Like, does he move the needle for this basketball team? Not at all. Like, go look at the 6 games in the playoffs that he played. He averaged 9 points a game, and he was 4th on his team. Kelly Oubre outperformed him in the playoffs. Like, I would rather have Kelly Oubre than Tobias Harris. And I guess sounds crazy, but it sounds crazy. But the reason I'm saying it is because neither of them is not a needle mover. Like yeah, okay, you get experience in someone that's been in Detroit before, but like you're looking to move this franchise forward, not go back to where you have been in the past. And Tobias like isn't a guy that comes in like he's a 4th, 5th option like on the Sixers. Like he's not a star or one of their best players. So yeah, it might be good for like a 1 year or 2 year deal. But if you're going out there to spend a bunch of money on him and say, let's break up the bank and let's go pay him,
no,
you're out of your mind.
So let's get
out of here.
Let's get the break the bank for Tobias Harris out of our minds, because I don't think they'd be breaking the bank. All right, I want to make that, because that I'm out on. No one should be breaking the bank for Tobias Harris. But Tobias Harris on this team, to say he's not a big needle mover, I mean, yeah, who is? I mean, who are you getting?
OG Anunoby?
I mean, yeah, he moves the needle, but were you thinking any of these guys? What do you want any of these guys to do for the Pistons? Take them to the playoffs? I mean, single-handed. Like, what are you thinking? None of these guys.
I just want to put something around Cade that's going to help him out a little bit. Like Tobias, what is he going to do? He's like,
he can shoot the ball better than Kelly Oubre. I'll tell you that.
But he's at the end of his career. Let's get
31.
Dude, he's been in Detroit before. I'm not like move on from the Tobias thing. It's the same thing as what is Jeremy Grant. It's like, dude, we tried that. Let's just move on. Like, go get someone else.
I would probably low-key rather have Jeremy Grant.
I would rather have Jeremy Grant for sure.
I think I would too.
So Tobias Harris, I don't know what what it would look like. That's the big thing that we debate, but no one has the answer. Okay, I understand that. But you can't deny, I mean, Tobias Harris is almost a 50% basically from the field last year. And he's like a 36% three-point shooter. And he could fill a need. He's not going to move the needle. Like, I get what you're saying, but like, I don't think Gary Trent Jr. isn't going to move the needle for them to go make the play. He'll move the needle, but not to what you're saying. Like, you want someone to land here and be like, all right, boys, lock in 7 seed.
I'll say this though.
No one's doing that.
Tobias Harris is a short-term fix. It's like he's not a guy that's going to be on your team when you're in the playoffs in a couple of years. Like that's to me that's why it's
get better.
Yeah, I would love to, but I texted you earlier today, like that whatever the lineup that was posted on Twitter with Tobias in it, that team's not winning more than 20 games again. It's just not.
Hey, like, can we pull that up?
Why are we acting like
he's responsible for winning 6 games with the Sixers. So they would get 220.
Missed that.
So that hits 20 on the mark. I just hate how there's this conversation with Pistons fans and people that think, hey, maybe if you bring just a couple average and or below average players or average NBA players that have been in the league, oh, you bring them in, dude, you're going to get to 35 wins next year with Cade Cunningham. No, that's not the case. There's so much work to be done with this team. Tobias Harris, like us all dying on, like people dying on a Tobias Harris hill is one of the worst hills to die on for this Pistons franchise right now. Who cares about Tobias Harris? I'm sorry. I'm getting back in the rhythm, boys. Get back in the rhythm.
Hey, but again, you won 14 games, so we're just going to be like, I'm good on anyone that could help. Like, I don't know if we have the right to do that.
Well, I think you kind of want to go out there and you, like Booner said, Tobias probably isn't a long-term solution. So, like, what are you signing him for? Wouldn't you rather go out and get a guy that you are going to keep with this team and is going to play with Cade for multiple years and can kind of build something? Like, Tobias is 31. It's not end all be all age, but he's still getting up there. I would rather kind of get a younger guy that's going to be able to contend with this team with Cade for years on and kind of has a deeper bag offensively than Tobias.
But who is? I would follow that up with who is that?
You know what, Jeff? I don't really care. Like we could go
Brandon
dive
Ingram's
into that.
better than Tobias Harris. And
100%,
Brandon Ingram has a way deeper bag offensively. He's bigger. Like he's just a better fit, in my opinion. But
I'm with you on that, Gentry. I would rather have Brandon Ingram. And Jeff, you could say who is that all like just because there was no options, like we don't need to just force a contract just because, oh, we need to get we need to spend. And I know you need to spend. I remember Corey last week said you need to get to the 90% of your cap hit so you don't have to pay back or kind of lose some. So yeah, I get that. But just getting a guy like a Tobias, like, yeah, he's going to bring something to the table. He does make your team a little bit better, but it's not drastic to where it's like, this is going to help our franchise in the long run, long term. That's just how I look at it.
You have to get better in the short term, though, to be better in the long term anyway.
As long as they don't give him a long-term deal, I'm happy with that.
Fair. But even look at what the Rockets did. Different players, I understand that. But when they gave Fred that deal, it was like a 2-year, $40 million per year deal.
Not the same.
Wrong.
Okay,
Wrong.
Explain.
Fred VanVleet's been there before. Tobias Harris is a no-show, was dropping donuts in the playoffs as like a third option on his team. Fred VanVleet had big moments throughout the playoffs and has won something. So I don't know about that.
I hear typing over there. I think Jeff's looking some stuff up, some stats.
No, I just want to check something.
I heard something.
I just want to look something up.
It is just interesting to me, though.
It's weird. It's weird because the year prior he was a 50, 40, 90 guy basically in the playoffs. It's weird, but I get what you're saying. He did Kawhi Leonard, yeah. But to your point, though, I think Tobias, I think Fred VanVleet is better. I will give you that, Mike. He is better.
Yeah.
But my point is, when he was signed, I'm like, why would they give the money to Fred? But you understand that. Is he a long-term solution? No. They're going to draft a point guard. They're going to draft one. But he was improvement, and that's what all you can ask for. Like, you just want to get better. We need good players. Or now, it doesn't have to be great players, because, again, who are you getting? And who's great in free agency? And Brandon Ingram? Yeah, that's a good option. But is it likely? Like, I don't know.
Wait. Let's backtrack a little bit here. 50, 40, 90. Let's talk about that real quick. I'm not letting you take my guy Gentry down like that. Are we going to fact check this?
No,
Yeah.
He was talking about Kawhi, I think, right?
Kawhi? Or okay, I thought we were talking about
Tobias Harris last year was 52.2% from the field, 37% from three, and almost 90 from the free throw line.
86% from the free throw line. That's
oh
not
my,
almost.
okay, 3%.
I'm not that picky.
No, I am. 50, 40, 90 is one of the hardest things to do for shooters.
And he was a couple percent
shooter.
from
Don't
it.
disrespect shooters like that.
Okay, but my point being is he was
That's a big
fine
percent.
last year. So we're living off the game where he had a donut, which I understand. But when you take his career, you're like, okay, this guy's not a number 1 or number 2 or number 3, but he's just he's a good role player, which like they need that, guys. I don't know what team you watched last year, but they need good players.
That's what doesn't need to be misconstrued. Is Tobias Harris he's a good role player in the NBA. He averaged 17 points a game last year. That's good. But I'm just in my head when I think about moves that you're making is a Pistons franchise, and I guess I've been off for the last 3 shows, so I haven't even like the conference and everything that went on. When I'm like watching those press conferences and what is Trajan Langdon doing going forward? What's his mindset? Like today, you get an alert that Tim Hardaway is connected to the Detroit Pistons in a trade with Quentin Grimes. So like there's these different moves. It's just for me, it's what like when you're making these moves, you have to have a vision long term. And Tobias is in year 13 to where when this team eventually does hit that mark and they take that turn in the playoffs and do that, is Tobias a part of that future and he's going to grow with this team and do that? Probably not. And if you're going to spend a lot of money on that, why not, to Gentry's point a little bit, get some other guys that you're able to kind of fuse into the future there. That's just kind of it's not that Tobias is like trash and he's buns, like not at all. Yeah. He averaged 17 a game in 70 games in the NBA. That's good. But it's more so like, let's think about the Pistons' future. Like that's what they've done for the last 12 years. It's just sign guys that no one wants and sign them to big deals, and you get screwed out of it, and you end up being average, and you end up getting stuck with contracts and having to make trades, and It's a bad rebuild. This is
But
the
Jeff,
start of a rebuild.
Can
Do
I
it
ask
right.
you something, Jeff?
Yes, please.
After all those trades went down, clearing up all the cap space, trading for dog shit Joe Harris and a few others, and you made all this move to get this cap space so you can go out and get dudes next to Kate Cunningham. Would you not think you're lowering the bar or settling for Tobias Harris after you made all those moves? You cleared up all the cap space. You can finally go out and sign people, and your number one signing is Tobias Harris. Do you think that's not settling?
Well, let's take everything into context. The free agency. Look at who's the top free agents. I'll give you them right now. Paul George. Can I interest you?
Yes.
He's not coming here. Can I interest you? Klay Thompson.
No.
Okay. Well, then that's about it.
Yes.
Well, my point being is like that's like people. If you want Paul George, like fine. I don't think he's coming here, but you have to look at who can just contribute and help. Brandon Ingram, guys. I'm not even going to argue it. I like it because he is proven to be an all-star. He is that type of player. So I get that. He's the immediate fix. You get a really good player. You have to pay him, of course. Like I understand that. But guys, this team, the only way they're going to get really good isn't just paying in this free agency period, because there's not the players to come and just fix everything, but it's going to be drafting and developing and guys becoming really good so you can pay them. Like that's how the league is now. I mean, look at what's going on around you with even the finals and so on and so forth, the Celtics and them drafting most of those players, but then adding in free agency to surround those guys. So like, I don't think Tobias Harris is going to take us to the playoffs by himself, but also I don't think OG will either. Like it's on these guys, and Ingram will help. But if Ingram comes, you do realize you need like an all-star season from Cade. You need everyone else to be really good. And you still need talent, because it would basically be Cade and Ingram on 2 max contracts. And that's like your team basically. So do you think that's enough for a championship? I would argue no. So, there's a lot more moves to be made than just, getting
Jeff, like there's I get what you're saying. Like you had to pay your young guys, but like look at the Knicks, for example. Like look how they built up a little bit. They bring in Josh Hart. A lot of these guys via trade too. Josh Hart, Jalen Brunson, free agency. Dante DiVincenzo, trade. Julius Randle, they bring him in. I believe was it from the Pelicans at the time. They've drafted some guys like Miles McBride and these different guys, Hartenstein. So like there's ways to do it kind of both ways, but they waited until they got to a certain point to where it's like, all right, let's get these vets in here. And the Pistons, and it's like I told you guys last week, they're at a point where you have to go do what the Knicks did a couple years ago. You have like some young guys like Cade, Asar. You have your young guys. You have to go out there and make some major trades, and you have to go out and make some moves that are going to set you apart from other teams. You have your young core now. This isn't the time to just go out, and this is just where I'm coming. I don't know where you guys like. To me, it's just not the time just to go out and just get old vets, a year 13, year 14 guys, pay them money and say, hey, help us develop. That's not it. It's time to go out, make some trades, make some moves. If there's a guy, if you somehow can land an OG Anunoby in free agency, like you go all in on a guy like that and then make a couple trades. Do things like that to kind of build this team up a little bit, and then go out and get a Tobias and do that. Like look at the Knicks this year when they went and got Alec Burks and they traded with us, Bojan. Like that's just how I look at the building. I don't know. Like some people in the chat right now are saying like, Booner, we don't have picks. That's where it's gonna like we're gonna have to like Trajan's gonna have to start making some moves and because he did that in New Orleans too. If you guys didn't notice, he made trades. He started building around the young core. He didn't go out and just start spending money on old vets. He said, all right, let's build up something here. I think that's what they need to do, and I think that's what they're gonna do.
Yeah, and the Knicks have Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson is a very good player. Very, very good. Obviously, great player, actually. But look what the Knicks did. I mean, they traded RJ Barrett and other players away for OG, and OG's probably going to leave them in free agency unless they give him a max contract. So, I get what you're saying about the Knicks, and they got very, I don't want to, maybe not lucky because maybe they foresaw Jalen Brunson being really good. But the Knicks, personally, I don't know if the Knicks would be like my look at that organization.
I'm not trying to say I'm just like throwing out an example of like, hey, a team like the Pelicans, they didn't really go out and just go get a guy like Tobias Harris, a veteran, and pay a ton of money to. They went out and, traded for Brandon Ingram and drafted. Obviously, they drafted Zion, your Cade Cunningham. Like they traded for players. They made moves and they built up a core that's been together, and they built a team that's right. The Pistons have just been drafting BPA guys and so we're saying they're BPA guys and haven't even trying to been putting a real team together. They've just been like, let's just get these athletic guys and throw them together. Like Trajan, I'm hoping has the right mindset of, hey, let's put a real basketball team together. Maybe it'd be cool to put like some shooters around. It'd be sick to like put some shooters around some slashers and playmakers. How sick would that be to actually build a team?
It's funny because you're describing Tobias Harris.
Again, Jeff.
Can shoot the ball.
I don't think you understand what I'm saying. I went on all that. The age, like the vet, like I guess you do want to bring some vets in to help these guys, but to me, it's just unattractive to me. I don't know. That's just an unattractive contract that I don't want to just throw on this organization.
Yeah, and the contract is important. I'm not saying give him, $30-40 million. I'm not saying that. I don't think he'll command that, but again, who knows? So I get what you're saying. I just want this team to get good players, proven players. I just get better. Like I'm sick of sitting here and we can't just shun away guys just because, they're not this guy, unless it really doesn't make sense. I get that, but we have to be realistic and be like, can this player help us? And I think Tobias can. Now, is it the next decade? No, but the next 2 to 3 years, yeah.
Do you know what the smartest thing to do is to do like the Tim Hardaway thing? Is Tim Hardaway on the last year of his deal? And then they're looking to move on from him.
I would rather have Tobias than Tim Hardaway.
No, this is the reason why is Tobias. What, you give him a 3 or 4 year deal?
I don't know what that would look like.
If you're looking to get vets,
something like that.
Yeah, if you're looking to get vets, just go out and get a 1 or 2 year rental, similar to kind of what you do with Alec Burks, but go get better ones. And that's what Trajan said he wanted to do anyways in his conference, was go out, take on contracts, and you have $60 million to spend. Go out and get guys that you can that can play, that are vets, and take on those contracts. So then next year, when free agency opens up even more,
I'm open to that as well.
That's what should be the number one priority. It shouldn't be signing guys like Tobias,
because they'll give you assets to take that contract, which comes with it. So I'm with you.
That should be the number one talking point. Screw Tobias.
No, I'm gonna be honest. I'm cool with Tobias as well. I just don't know what they would pay him. I don't know what it would command. I can't speak on that. Anything north of like 20-25, I'm out. So at 30, no, hell no. So I guess that's where I'm at with it, because that takes up most of your available money.
I feel like if you're paying Tobias Harris to come play for the Pistons, or you're paying anyone for that matter, if it's Tobias Harris caliber, you're probably going to have to pay him around that range. Like, I don't think Tobias Harris I think he can probably get that pretty much anywhere or on a good team. So I think Detroit's going to probably have to pay that tax. If you're going to want him to go through these rebuilding years and kind of be that, guy to look over all the young players and kind of help them progress. So
what do you think they're going to pay OG then?
I feel like even like Utah, who he's linked to, Utah would probably throw him like the 2025. So Detroit's got to one-up him to bring him in.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's going to be probably $5 million north of whatever the market commands.
And essentially, there's going to be contenders that are like, we'll pay you money to come play for us because we need another option. Like, look at the Mavs. I'm sure the Mavs, I don't know if they would go after a Tobias, but I'm sure like they're going to be looking around for that extra piece, that third, fourth extra piece. Like, there's going to be teams that want Tobias, and you're going to have to pay for him no matter what, and it's going to be a couple years. I would be more comfortable at the start of a rebuild saying, let's get more assets. So you can, like, when you stack those assets up and then you take on contracts, you have $60 million to spend. If all these people in the chat right now that are sitting here saying, well, no one will come to Detroit, Booner, no one will sign in free agency. Okay, guess what? If free agency isn't great this year and you think no one this year will sign, let's do this. Let's go out and start trading for veteran players on a 1 year deal, players that are NBA, that were on contending teams who have played in the playoffs. Go trade for them, bring them in on a 1 year deal, take on the expiring contract, bring in the assets. So guess what you can do with those assets? You can go make blockbuster trades with those in the future next year when the time comes. And then guess what? All those contracts are gone after this year. And now you have $60 million plus more next year going into free agency. And now you have a whole nother year to show what your whole new regime looks like. And maybe there's going to be free agents that are like, I like what Trajan's doing over there. I like their new head coach. I like what the Pistons did in the last year since he came up. We still have $60 million. All these contracts are gone. Now we have more assets. Now let's do that. Because as much as people hate it, this is a whole new rebuild. That's what this is. So bringing on dumb contracts of players in year 14 isn't smart. Like I get Tobias again. He's a great player in the NBA. He's a good role player. 17 points a game. Why would we just start bringing in contracts instantly when you know the regime's not ready and these players you're trying to build them up again? It doesn't make sense to me. I just think that bringing in assets and train for these 1-year deals are the best way to go.
Yeah, and again with OG, I'm open to it. But you guys mentioned it earlier with what you'd have to pay Tobias. I mean, imagine what you're gonna have to pay. OG's due for a max, not just like a 25-30. I'm talking 30-40, a 4-year deal. So and I'm open to OG. I love the fit. Love him as a just an absolute defensive menace. But hey, I mean, he's gonna be your highest paid player until Cade signs. So, are you confident in that? That's also another thing you got to think about. But you have to pay that tax for being a bad team. You have to pry him away from the Knicks. So there's a lot that goes into it. Do you think OG, because OG's a very, very good defender. He's going to give you about 14 points a game, but be very good. He could shoot the three, efficient.
Defend.
Yeah, defend, which, I would be okay with that. But you're going to have to spend money either way. I mean, he's going to be most of your money for sure.
I just
35-40 of it.
At least I feel like with OG, it would be money well spent, and you would see immediate progress as far as defense goes on the floor, and he can shoot the ball. He can do things offensively. And I seen Chris bring it up about that Tim Hardaway deal. I saw that rumor that Quentin Grimes was involved in the trade or might be involved. It might be a piece in the trade. If that is true, that I don't agree with that trade. I don't agree with moving Grimes, who's good defensively and can shoot. And you went out and got him last year, and he's didn't really prove to be a valuable piece, but in his career, he's proven to be a valuable piece. So to move off of him to get a veteran and Tim Hardaway Jr., I do not agree with that.
Yeah. And I get this point too. This is the biggest point with OG. Coach Walk, OG can defend the other team's best player, which is so important. They don't have that right now. I mean, Asar is going to be that guy eventually, but if you have OG and Asar, that's terrifying for other wings. Like, I will completely.
Yeah, and he could shoot too.
Shoot. Yep.
So that's the biggest thing is he could shoot. So you're bringing in another guy that could score the ball. That's where I think I just think I get this feeling, and this isn't like Pistons fans or anything. It just the Pistons have been so bad for so long now, to where when you start hearing guys like a Tobias linked, or a year or two ago the Jeremy Grant thing again, it's like you start instantly. You're just like yep. But like to me, it's all right. Slow down. Like this is like to me this is the last rebuild that Tom Gores has before it's like sell the team. So you have to make sure this is the best. They do it the best way. It's strategic, all of that. And I just don't see like the move with Tobias to be able to just go out there and spend that money. And I'm interested to see what the deal would be. That's going to be the number one thing with that. I'm just interested. Again, I'm just going to stand on this point. Jeff, I think I told you this morning. I'm going to stand on it. I want them to make a blockbuster trade. Like, go up, make a move. One big move this offseason that's going to say, all right, this is what we're about. This is what we're trying to do. Whether that's Brandon Ingram or if you could somehow sign OG, do it. Figure it out and figure a way out to do it to prove that you're serious about this thing.